The modern man's mind is drowning. Not in water, but in information. See, every day the average man consumes 174 newspapers worth of data, 121 emails, 59 notifications, and endless social media. Right? More information in 24 hours than our grandfathers processed in an entire month. Okay? The problem isn't the volume of information, it's that we've lost the ability to filter it. We've become collectors instead of curators, consumers instead of creators, always adding, never subtracting. And now our minds are like these ancient computers, running too many programs at once, slowing down, overheating, crashing when we need them most. Okay, brother, you're not broken, right? Your filter is. Because somewhere between the strategies, the courses, the gurus, the endless next big thing, right, you've buried the most powerful tool, your clarity. And this isn't about learning more, it's about finally seeing through the noise. And if you stick with me to the end, I'll help you understand why this matters now more than ever. And more importantly, I'll give you 5 powerful practices that will give you mental clarity so you can uncover your purpose. You can move from consumer to creator, remove what's no longer aligned with your purpose, and so you can reconnect to that own inner wisdom. Okay, because let me ask you something. When was the last time you had a truly original thought? Right? Not something you read, not something you watched, not something someone told you to think. A thought that came from you, the depths of your own silence. You can't remember? You're not alone. Okay, because there's a big truth out there that most men will never confront. We've mistaken consumption for growth. We've confused information for wisdom, and we've replaced clarity with complexity. So you don't need another quick fix strategy. You definitely don't need another guru, right? You don't need another system. What you need is a filter, the ability to cut through the noise and see what matters, the courage to delete what doesn't serve your purpose in life, and a discipline to focus on what actually moves you forward. Because see, right now, your mind is like a river that's been dammed with bullshit and debris, and all that power, all that momentum, all that force of who you truly are is being blocked by ideas that weren't even yours. So this isn't about organising the clutter. It's getting rid of that shit altogether. Okay? Because this is what no one tells you about the second half of your life, right? And the midlife awakening. Okay? Becoming the awakened savage. Right? This is not a midlife crisis. It's a reclamation. Right? For decades, you've been loading your mind with other people's thoughts, their definitions of what success is, their pathway to fulfillment, their metrics for a life well lived. And now your mental operating system is running a code that you did not write. This is why you feel disconnected. This is why you feel restless. This is why even when you achieve what they told you would bring satisfaction, something still feels like it's missing because it's not yours. So let me be very crystal clear. No amount of new information will fix a foundation built on self-deception. Right? You've been looking outside for answers that can only be found in here within. Right? You've been seeking more knowledge when all you need is more silence. Right? You've been chasing complexity when your soul is starving for simplicity. And this is the great paradox of modern men. We think we need more options, more strategies, more tools, when what we actually need is fewer but better choices. Because when everything is important, nothing is. Right? When everything deserves your attention, nothing gets it fully. And a man divided against himself cannot stand. Right? So the path forward isn't addition, it's subtraction. Not more knowledge, but more wisdom. Not more options, more clarity. And that clarity doesn't come from consuming, it comes from filtering. Okay? And let me, help you understand, my realization on this. Right? So about 5 years ago, I was branching into the online world where I knew absolutely jack shit about. So I was completely lost, okay? Right? I was lost in it all. But on the surface, on the outside, it still looked like I had made it. right? Business was good. I had money in the bank. Family was stable. I'd done all the things that they tell you to do. But inside my head was like a fucking minefield, pure chaos, right? So I'd recently branched out into the online, right? Focusing on building my online presence, right? With the wholehearted intention of building a community and helping my community rise up with the courses that I had created, right? And my intentions were pure and I had amazing courses and I still do have them, right? But at that point there, I was subscribed to 27 different newsletters. I was following 43 different thought leaders, enrolled in 6 different programs, always chasing the next strategy, the next quick fix, the next system, the next secret, right? My browser had over 50 tabs opened at one time, all the time. I had my Google, I had my Safari, and I just had tab after tab, you know? My Audible was packed with books that I had started and never finished. My notes app was just a graveyard of abandoned ideas. And see, that whole time, I kept thinking, I just need to learn more. I just need to find more answers. I just need one more piece of the puzzle. And it was consume, consume, consume. And the reality was, I wasn't absorbing anything. I was drowning in everything. And I'll never forget the moment it changed, right? I was sitting in this weekend masterclass, mastermind, if that's what you want to call it. And it was a lot, I won't say how much it was, but it was a lot of money just to be in that room, right? And it wasn't pocket change. In fact, it was more money than I have in my bank account right now. So it was a big deal, right? Top experts, life changing content. And halfway through day 2, I realized I couldn't remember a single actionable thing from day 1. Right? Not because the content was bad, but because my mind was so cluttered with competing ideas that nothing new could stick. And that's when it hit me. I did not need more information. I needed less. So I left that mastermind during the lunch break and I made one of the hardest decisions of my life. Well, that was a hard decision because I fucking lost a lot of money, right? But I decided to delete everything, right? Unsubscribed from all newsletters, unfollowed all the gurus, deleted my social media apps, put all my courses and programs on hold, right? So I committed for 90 days to consuming nothing new, right? But this was me just about to enter my lone wolf stage. I just didn't know that at the time. I can only say that now looking back, right? No podcasts, no books, no articles, no videos, just me and myself and I. And seeing that silence, it was terrifying because I had to face myself, the real me, right? Not the version I had curated for outside people, right? The guy who had his shit together, the recovery guy, the personal development guy, the positive motivational guy, right? No, I had to face the real me. And at first, it was excruciating. My mind was so addicted to the input that the absence of it felt like it was some type of withdrawal. I was restless, anxious, desperate for distraction. But I stuck with it, and slowly but surely something shifted. The mental fog began to kind of lift. The internal noise began to quiet. And for the first time in years, maybe even decades, I could hear my own thoughts, right? Not thoughts about what I should be doing, not thoughts about what other people were doing, just clarity about what actually mattered to me, right? And I realized that all this time I hadn't been learning, I had been hiding from the truth that I already knew what to do. I just didn't have the courage to actually get out there and do it. So all those courses, all those strategies, all that consumption, it wasn't about growth. It was about delay, about avoiding the hard work of living authentically me. So that 90-day information fast, which then turned into a year isolation, my own lone wolf phase, that changed everything. Not because I learned anything new, but because I finally cleared space to see what was already there. Me, my purpose, my truth, my path. Not someone else's, mine. And that filter, that ability to distinguish between noise and signal, that has been my superpower ever since, and I've never ever looked back. It's the reason I'm here talking to you right now. Because see, before I was too scared to go out and be 100% authentically me, because I cared so much about what other people thought and whether I'd be judged about speaking this and speaking about that. But now I'm like, fuck it, I don't care. I'm being me, and if you don't like it, you don't have to watch. I'm not twisting your arm. I still love you, but I'm not twisting your arm to stay here. Because see this mental noise, it's not just a modern problem. It's a human problem that's been amplified because of the technology, the digital age. The ancient Stoics understood this intimately. You know, Seneca warned, to be everywhere is to be nowhere, right? Marcus Aurelius practiced daily. You know, ask of each thing, what is it in itself? What is it, its nature? Right? They recognize that clarity comes, not from accumulation, but from the ruthless discernment, right? And the Buddhist tradition, they call it viveka, right? The practice of discrimination between what is real and what is illusion, between what serves your highest path and what distracts you from it, right? And as Buddha taught, your mind is like a room filled with furniture. If you want to bring in new furniture, you must remove the old. Right? And even in, the Western tradition, Carl Jung observed that the modern man suffers not from the lack of information, but from a disconnection from his inner wisdom. Right? Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. Okay, and this is why I stress so much about coming from your heart, because most people are not focused on what they think they're focused on. And if you're here to live a purpose driven life, it has to come from the heart. It has to be what your heart desires, not what your mind wants. Right? And modern neuroscience confirms what all the traditions have always known. The brain has a limited bandwidth. It can only process so much information before it begins to fragment attention. Right? And there was a study for Stanford University on multitaskers, right? And they said that multitaskers who constantly consume multiple streams of information, they perform worse on cognitive tests than those who are filtered and focused. Makes sense, right? They couldn't remember as well, right? They couldn't organize information effectively. And most important, they couldn't distinguish between what mattered and what didn't. Now think about that. The more information you consume, the less capable you become of knowing what's worth consuming. Right? It's mental. It's a vicious cycle that can only be broke through intentional filtering. Right? And this is where it gets deeply personal. When your mind is cluttered with external noise, the voice of your own soul becomes increasingly difficult to hear. Right? This is what the mystic traditions have called the cloud of unknowing, the barrier between your conscious mind and your deep knowing. And the barrier gets thicker with every single article you skim, every video you half watch, every doom scroll you get on, every piece of advice you collect and never implement. Right? And this is the result in what psychologists call analysis paralysis. The more options you have, the less likely you are to act on any of them. This is why filtering isn't just a productivity hack, it's a spiritual practice, a reclamation of your mental sovereignty, a return to what the Taoists call the uncarved block, the natural state of clarity before the world scratched its opinions into your consciousness. Because true wisdom isn't about knowing more things, it's about knowing which things matter. And as Einstein said, not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts. Okay, your purpose, the reason you're here on this earth, that is your ultimate filter. When you know what you're meant to create, what you're meant to do, what you're meant to contribute or become, suddenly it's clear what deserves your attention and what does not. Right? It's quite simple. If it's moving you towards your purpose and vision, you take the action. If it's moving you away from it, get rid of that shit. Okay, and this is what this midlife awakening is really about. It's not a crisis of aging, but it's a crisis of drowning in irrelevance. Your soul is fighting to breathe, and it needs you to create space, not by adding more strategies, but by burning away everything that isn't essentially you. This is when we strip back to who we truly are at our core. Okay? So let's dive into the 5 powerful filters to clear that mental debris and reconnect you with your truth. Now, these aren't just strategies to, nod your head along and add to your collection. These are what will actually burn the shit away, and what's been blocking your power. Okay, number one, the information fast. This is a digital detox for mental clarity, right? For the next 30 days, okay, commit to consuming zero new information that isn't directly related to you, your purpose, and what you're creating, right? No random YouTube, no scrolling social media, no podcast while driving, no reading articles just because, no mindless bullshit. This isn't about becoming ignorant, it's about stopping the endless cycle of input without output. Okay, so how do you do this? Delete all social media apps from your phone, right? You can reinstall them later. Unsubscribe to all newsletters, and I mean all of them. Take a note if you want to resubscribe, okay? Cancel or put on hold all courses or programs, right? Set up a website blocker for your biggest time wasting websites, especially if you're still watching porn. Come on, that is one that you should not be watching at all anymore, right? Tell 3 people about this commitment so that they can hold you accountable, right? And there will be a withdrawal from this. It will be real, right? Your mind will crave the dopamine hit of new information. Let it crave, let it scream. And see in that space of craving, listen for the voice that's been drowned out by all the noise. Okay? Number two, the purpose filter. Define your core mission. Right? Without a clear purpose, everything seems important. With purpose, most things reveal themselves as distractions. Okay? Take one full day completely offline, right? No distractions, nothing, right? And ask yourself these questions. What problem am I uniquely positioned to solve in the world? Right? What work would I do even if I got no credit for it? Or if I never got paid for it? What legacy do I want to leave behind? What do I want my life to mean 20 years from now? Okay, now these are powerful questions. Write your answers in a physical journal. No typing, no digital notes, right? The physical act of writing engages different neural pathways and accesses deeper wisdom. Right? From those answers, distill a single sentence, right? A purpose statement, not a goal, not a career, a mission, right? For example, my purpose is to help men reclaim their mental clarity so they can live with the power and authenticity, right? That's something similar to mine, right? Post that statement where you will see it every single day. This becomes your primary filter for all future decisions. Does this align with my purpose? Right? If not, it's noise. Get rid of that shit. If it does, then plan it in. Okay? Number three, the execution journal, from consumption to creation. Right? Because most men like myself over 40 don't need more information. They don't need more knowledge. They need more implementation. So create an execution journal with these simple rules. For every piece of information you consume, you must take one concrete action, right? That could be teach someone. That could be, whatever the information is, an actionable step, right? No consuming new content until you've implemented what you've already learned. Document what worked, what didn't, and what you've learned. Okay, this simple practice forces you to filter information through action rather than collection. Right? It transforms you from consumer to creator, from someone who knows to someone who does. And with each implementation, your filter will sharpen. You begin to recognize which information actually matters and which is just mental junk food. Okay, number four, the mental declutter ritual. Remove before you add. Okay, once per week, practice intentional mental subtraction. Right? List all the open loops in your mind, projects, ideas, commitments. For each one, ask, does this align with my purpose? If no, eliminate that completely. If yes, schedule specific time to work on it or consciously table it, right? But here's the key. For every new idea or commitment you accept, you must remove 2 others. Okay? This creates a natural downward pressure on the mental clutter. Over time, your mind becomes more spacious, more focused, and more powerful. Okay? And the last one, number five. Every day, for at least 60 minutes, practice complete silence. And see, for those who say, I don't have 60 minutes, right? Get up 60 minutes earlier, right? Or even just look at your screen time and see how much time you spend on social media or other mindless scrolling bullshit. Plus, if you've taken the previous steps with the information fast, where you remove all random YouTube scrolling, social media, podcasts, articles, then you will have 60 minutes, right? No input, no output, no phone, no book, no TV, no conversation, just you and your thoughts, right? This isn't meditation, although I highly recommend meditation also. This is intentional reconnection with your own mind. Build that relationship up with yourself. Right? You can take a walk in nature, sit in a chair, lie down. The only requirement is silence. And what you'll discover at first might be difficult. Okay, how addicted your mind is to external stimulation, how uncomfortable you are with your own thoughts, how many of your beliefs aren't actually yours. But see, as you continue this practice, something magical happens. Your internal signal strengthens, your intuition awakens, your clarity will return. And see that voice that guides you, right? It's no longer a collective noise of 1,000 different influencers, but a singular wisdom of your true authentic self. Right? These 5 practices are not shortcuts. They're deep work. The kind of work most men are too scared to or avoid to or who will not commit to. Because it's harder than just consuming more information. But this is how you reclaim your mental kingdom. This is how you step into your true nature and purpose. Not by adding more territory, but by securing what you already have. Okay, and only a true savage will do this. Okay, so and this is the thing, you have everything you need. The answers you've been searching for, they're already in here with you, buried beneath all the bullshit and the noise. Right, they're just waiting there in the silence. For too long, you've outsourced your thinking. You've given your power to gurus, to experts, to thought leaders. All of them promising you that missing piece that will finally make everything work. And guess what? It fucking never does. The truth is, you don't need more pieces. You need less. You need to strip away the layers of conditioning that have disconnected you from your own truth, your own knowing. You need to burn the mental forest that's grown so thick that you can no longer see the sky. This is what it means to awaken in midlife, to finally recognize that the path forward isn't through more complexity, it's through brutal simplicity. To understand true power doesn't come from knowing everything, it comes from knowing what matters. And no one can tell you what matters to you, right? That wisdom lives in the quietness of your own being, in the center of you, right? It speaks in whispers, not shouts. It reveals itself in silence, not in noise. This is your moment. This is the time you take back your mental kingdom from the invaders who have cluttered it with their agendas, their formulas, their noise. And yes, it's going to be uncomfortable. Silence always is for men who've been running from it. Will it be simple? Yes, but simple doesn't mean easy. The hardest thing for a modern man is to trust himself again, to believe that beneath all those strategies and systems and second guessing, there's a clear, powerful voice that knows exactly what he needs to do. That voice isn't new, it's ancient. It's the same voice that guided your ancestors through the wilderness, through the wars, the same voice that helped them build and protect and provide. It never left you. You just stopped listening to it. But see, today, right now, you can make the choice. You can turn down the volume of the outside world and turn up the volume of your soul. Not someday, not when you have more information, not when you have it all figured out, but right now. Because the world doesn't need another man paralyzed by options. It needs men to move with clarity, who speak with conviction, who act with purpose. And that man is already you, once you've filtered out everything that isn't. Okay, this is my invitation for you to step forward. Not someday, but right now. The time for consumption is over. The time to create is right now. And if this message hit you in your heart, then drop a little comment, filter, right? This isn't about engagement, it's about commitment, a public declaration that you're done drowning in the noise and you're ready to stand up and be counted as the man that you are. Step number 2, begin your information fast today, not tomorrow, not Monday, right now. Delete a social media app from your phone. Cancel one subscription you don't need. Clear the browser tabs that you've been open for weeks. Take one concrete action that creates space in your mental environment and feel the immediate relief that comes with that. And number 3, subscribe, give me a wee like, and turn on the notifications. That's all I ask. This channel isn't about, adding more noise to your life. It's about helping you filter out the noise so you can step into your own truth. No fluff, no hype, no complexity, just clarity. And if you know another man out there who's drowning in information but starving for wisdom, share this video with them, because mental clarity isn't just a personal asset, it's a responsibility. The world needs men who can think clearly, who can separate signal from noise, who can lead from a place of conviction rather than confusion. Your ability to filter, right, to know what matters and what doesn't, isn't a skill, it's your superpower. And it begins with a single decision to trust that you already know enough. You just need the courage to act on it. Okay? Filter the noise, find your signal, follow your truth. And I appreciate you and I love you. And I cannot wait to catch you on the next one. Another video for you here. And you can subscribe here. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye.